A Piece of Licorice. Mr. Wabbit stood before the sink in the washroom at the local movie theater, a slate tarnished to his hands. He splashed warm water over both of them and his face, blotted up the water with the paper towels, looked at himself in the mirror, and threw himself a smile, then returned back to his seat in the theater while the opening credits were still rolling. When the house lights came on again for intermission, he joined the others, lining up for popcorn and soda at the refreshment counter. A large box of popcorn and a medium cola for me. No, wait, could you add a package of Twizzlers? The red ones, they're my favorite. The black licorice ones are a little tough to chew. He edged a little closer to the girl working at the counter. Have you been working here long? He made a pleasant face in her direction. Bristling slightly, she gave him a baleful look. There are others behind you waiting. Oh, sorry. Of course. I just wasn't thinking. Taking his order, he stepped past the line, apologizing on his way. Seeing the ticket booth was manned by the girl who had earlier sold him his ticket, and since she wasn't busy now during intermission, he approached her to chat. Hello again. She furrowed her brow. You don't remember me. It's just you sold me a ticket earlier, and I thought you might remember. I bought a ticket to It's Midnight Again. I just wanted to say how much I admire the quality of the movies you choose. And this movie theater itself is really nice. I'm waiting for intermission to end. The movie is riveting. I got popcorn and a drink. He held them out in front of him. See? The girl, now steely-eyed, stared at him. What have you done? What have I done? Gosh, let me think. Well, a bit of everything, truth be told. I once even tried to sell encyclopedias. You know, nothing scares people more than to see someone turn up on their doorstep with 20 volumes of books in a small handcart. When you're training to sell encyclopedias, they tell you to simply say to the prospective customer, ask me anything, anything at all. See, you then pull out the volume and find the appropriate entry and read it to them. Of course, if they ask you something about zoology, you have to empty your cart of all the other volumes to get to Z. That can be a pain. What did you do today? Oh, I think I see, he added jovially. I purchased a ticket, sat through the first half of the movie, and I'm talking to you until the second half starts. She looked quite unconvinced. You killed someone, haven't you? Killed? Who said anything about killing? You killed him this morning, is my guess, and you are here creating an alibi. So when the police show up, and I'm sure they will, I will tell them, I remember you being here. But as you plainly see, I am here. I figure a few minutes after the movie started, you snuck out, did your nasty deed, then snuck back in before intermission. Saw me as your perfect alibi. That's why you're here. You shouldn't say things like that. A girl like you shouldn't even think things like that. Maybe you've been watching too many movies. People in real life don't go around murdering others. Oh, but they do. It happens quite often. Some of them are not even as clever as you seem to think you are. Their stories break down. Their motivations are slowly brought into the light. The perfect crime, which they so craftily fashioned, becomes undone, usually around their necks, in the form of a noose. You've got quite an imagination, haven't you? He looked around, surveying the crowd. Where's the hidden cameras? I must be on TV. I get it now. Where's Alan Funt? Is this a remake of Candid Camera? When the cops show up, and I'm sure they will, I will say I can vouch for your being present. I'm sure it won't come to that. You are not the most reliable judge of character. I would prefer it if you didn't mention me at all. I am sure you would. Oh no, as you yourself stated, you are clearly here. I will freely acknowledge that. I wouldn't lie, but should they ask me about the nature of our conversation, I'm not going to lie about that either. I will tell them the truth. We discuss murder, motivation, and alibis. Those are your words. The words of a crazy, mixed-up kid. Nobody's going to believe you. You haven't any credibility. The cops aren't concerned about my credibility, only that I am an eyewitness. Listen, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble talking that way. You're maligning my character. I can take you to court, and it could end up costing you everything you got. You're not threatening me, are you? Do you want to add that charge to all your crimes? I came in here to watch a movie, not to get stuck in a conversation with you. I paid good money for this experience. If you think I would pay a single penny for any opinion of yours, you're sadly mistaken. Okay, have it your way, but if you did murder someone, I wouldn't stick around here. I can easily point the police in your direction. Here's a piece of licorice. Then you can tell the cops how you shared a candy with a real murderer. As for me, reality calls. I'm going back to watch the final half of the movie. Should the police come in, you can tell them they can find me in the last row. She watched him walk away, picked up the piece of licorice, and bit the end off it. Wabbit reached out, pulling on the large brass handle of the door, entered the theater, and found his seat in the last row. As the house lights were shutting down and the second half of the movie began, he tried to sink into the movie and forget his encounter in the lobby, but it wasn't easy. In some way, the conversation was more interesting than the movie, which, truth be told, kind of moved at a snail's pace. Wabbit bit his tongue. It was just like being in a poker game, a peculiar variation of poker called no peaky baseball, where the participants all dealt their face cards down. At each successive round, they turned over one more card, wagering along the way. Do you call, raise, or fold? Your eventual win or loss rests on the next face-down card. Ha! He thought to himself. In the end, I guess you could say, I called her bluff. His next thought was, unless she really does call the cops. Oh, let them come. You can't hang a guy for daydreaming, can you? Or should one handle this situation in a direct manner? I could talk with the manager. That just seems like dragging myself through the whole affair again. Pulling more people in just creates further complications. I don't need extra complications in my life. I could talk to her again, try to straighten out the whole mess. That didn't really work before. If I were tasked with selling her encyclopedias, just what would be my approach? No Willie Loman approach for me. A shoe sign and a smile ain't gonna cut it here. I'd just hold up one volume right in front of her face and say, buy this. You really need it, because if you read this one book, you wouldn't recognize your present ignorant self a year from now. Olivia Boyles congratulated herself. I did it. I completed the assignment, put the fear of God into him at the same time. 2 weeks into her college night course in becoming a private detective, she found a suitable candidate for her first project, assessed his manner, questioned his motives, and drew her conclusions. By his reactions, I may have just struck gold. Nobody is safe from my discerning eye. I used my deductive powers to see into the heart of the matter, or was it inductive powers? I always get those two mixed up. Inductive, deductive. She made a mental note to look up the difference when she handed in her written report. Wabbit passed out of the movie theater in the middle of the crowd. He didn't look towards the girl or the ticket booth. Once outside, he took a deep breath of fresh air, composed himself, and began to walk down Front Street. I don't know how she surmised what I've been thinking about, but I guess if it ever comes down to it, I'll have to take care of her also. The end.